Hi. You do not need to be good at acting to be great at roleplay. The Critical Role cast has been shifting the way that they play the game, and I'm not talking about West Marches. I'm talking about how they roleplay. A technique has emerged at the table that I genuinely think every single D&D player should try if they're not already. Now, put the pitchforks down. I'm not telling you to make your games more like Critical Role or that all DMs need to be Matt Mercer. Chill.
Daddy, chill.
Even as a big Crit Role fan myself, I completely understand that the hi-fi production and the level of acting talent at that table is not a realistic example for home games. But this technique they're using actually makes roleplay easier and more accessible, while also solving a host of issues that players often encounter. It's this.
Anxiety rising in my gut. I'm severely tempted to dart my eyes around this open space looking for any hand to intervene, to see any result of all of the beseeching and deal-making I have been making behind the scenes. But I won't let my brother look at that if these are to be his final moments, so I hold his look, and for someone whose life has been all about words, I have none to give.
It's narration. When players layer internal thoughts, emotional context, and memory on top of descriptions of what their character is doing. It's a technique that can be used by any table to help less confident role players, improve communication, and overall just make games more memorable. So I'm going to run you through my 5 ways that narration can and should be used to help your games. That's the good shit. Number 1, narration makes roleplay more accessible. Dungeons & Dragons has a funny way of attracting theatre kids, but not everybody is that comfortable with acting. Narration is something that shyer or even less expressive players can use to ensure that their character's story is still being conveyed at the table. Not everything needs to be acted realistically at the table. There is often this misconception that roleplay equals first-person roleplay, where you embody the character completely and act out everything at the table. However, a lot of players feel much more comfortable describing their character's emotions and actions in third person.
Nia can't get to her. She gets as far as she possibly can to her and then sees that there is a drop and falls to her knees and is just, she just is really confused. She doesn't know what's happening right now.
Or a lot of people use a mix of the two, and this can be just as powerful. From personal experience, narration and acting are 2 playstyles that can completely coexist at the same table. It's all storytelling, it's just in different fonts. I also think that narration can be incredibly impactful for online games, where subtle acting and, reading each other's emotions is a little bit more difficult when you're on Discord. That's without even getting into the potential benefits of narration for neurodivergent players or players with seeing impairments. A little description can go a long way. Number 2, narration makes characters feel more realized. Think for a second about the sheer amount of description your DM gets through during a game. Now, this is the curse they've chosen for themselves. I have no sympathy. However, if we don't match them with a little bit more description of our characters, we risk our characters looking like stick figures in a beautifully realized world. This is not only less fun, but it also can affect the memorability of games. Human beings remember visuals better than they remember speech. This is the picture superiority effect. The more clearly a player moment is described, the more likely it is to stick with everybody at the table. And DMs, you can easily help this by asking your players for more description, asking them more introspective questions about how their character is feeling or how their character is behaving outwardly.
Do you feel that your rage in this moment, do you feel that your rage is petty and undeserving? As Wick meets your eyes as you protect him in this way, what does he see on your face?
Even a simple, describe to me how you kill the monster, or how do you want to do this, if you will, can really help give that player confidence and put the power of the storytelling back into their hands for that moment. Number 3, narration keeps quiet characters present. Even if you have an entire table of confident role players, your characters are probably not that balanced. There will be high charisma characters, low charisma characters, unless you're rizzing your way around town as a party of bards, otherwise known as a gaggle of slags. Cut that. The general premise of a D&D party is that people have their strengths and weaknesses, and quiet people should exist. They do exist. But D&D being such a talky game, they can very quickly fade into the background if we don't use narration to prop them up. Narration can help players of those quieter, more subtle characters to stay at the front of the table's mind, even if they're not too talkative. You can add some flavor to how they do things or what actions they take when the rest of the party is being a little bit more chatty.
His demeanor is definitely darkened at the mention of his father, and he just kind of looks out the window at the carriage with his hand on the hilt of his sword, now his jaw just tensing for the rest of the ride and quiet.
At some point on our shift, I got into that toy box and I pulled out a doll. But during my watch, I just sort of distracted by this doll and I'm playing with it, and I'm not at my best.
What I'm trying to say is, don't be stingy with your table just because your tiefling orphan rogue isn't ready to open up yet. Because if you don't give your table something to work with, they might be stumped on how to interact with your character. Which takes us to number 4. Narration is a signaling system. Your DM spends all of their time gently guiding you towards different story beats and paths that they've set up for you, but we as players forget to gently guide each other to the character elements and the story beats that we want to highlight. Where characters sometimes don't say what they mean or anything at all, narration provides us with the big ask me about my creepy glowing sword that I keep trying to hide energy that we sometimes need. In Campaign 2 of Critical Role, Liam O'Brien makes it very clear that his character Caleb suffers from distress whenever he uses fire magic.
And I probably have 10 feet of movement, which I would like to use to move back to where I was and to try to not hyperventilate against the back of this building.
Okay.
Caleb is not a forthcoming character in the beginning of the campaign, but showing those signs of distress to the other characters at the table through narration gave those characters questions to ask him or reasons to show him kindness and helped him to develop his relationships with them, even though he wasn't telling them much about his story.
Come on.
Yeah.
Let's go get some sunlight.
Come on.
Yeah.
I just kind of grab Caleb, wrap the arm around him, try and walk him out.
Grab the other side. We're just gonna, yep.
I have a player like this at my table who is playing a very cagey sorcerer, but she is really good at narrating when that character shows cracks in her armor, and the rest of us use that to initiate interesting conversations. It means we've got a mix of forthcoming characters and not so forthcoming characters at the table, and for me, that looks like a more realistic group of friends. And finally, reason number 5. Narration turns your table into an audience. This is the part of the video where I confess something to you. When I first saw Critical Role and even people at my own tables doing solo scenes or adding more narration to games, I didn't like it. I was not a big fan because I was very driven by this idea of realism and not being metagamey and not knowing more than my character. But then I had to remind myself that we're not all just here as players. We're also here as spectators. We spend most of the game listening and watching. Narration and solo scenes and flavor allows the rest of your party to be fans of your character's story, not just players. Asides or solo scenes are perfect for this because it gives players little fun nuggets to keep them hooked, even if the characters don't see it.
You are alone.
Looks down upon the well-adorned and well-remembered and well-beloved body. The only shame is I couldn't watch you die twice. And then I walk away.
Creating visuals and memorable moments helps to keep everyone at the table invested in each other's stories and want to keep telling those stories. I've even heard of DMs doing this by giving their players little scenes or moments that happen with NPCs or across the world from them at the beginning or end of games that just excite them, that just give them reasons to want to keep playing. So, that's it. That's my 5 reasons and ways that narration can be used to make any game better. It's such a simple technique, but it's one that I didn't really realize my table was using until recently. And now that I see it, I can appreciate just how impactful it has been in creating a good game. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please, please, please continue to comment because all of the comments I've gotten on my last 2 videos have been so inspiring, have really given me loads of ideas of things I want to talk about, problems I want to help players with. As a forever player, I'm here to help. So just leave a comment, let me know what you want to hear about, and I'll see you in the next one.